Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the invisible drivers of success. We're going to break down this incredible modern-day parable called The 5 a.m. Architect. It's basically the story of a struggling young man and a billionaire, and it reveals something fascinating. Extraordinary results, they aren't built on luck. No, they're built on incredibly ordinary, often completely invisible, daily actions. So the story starts off with this poor young man who is just desperately searching for answers. He finally gets this golden opportunity to ask a billionaire one simple question. What is your biggest secret? Now, you'd probably expect the answer to be, a massive inheritance, some genius-level intellect, or maybe just getting incredibly lucky in the stock market. But it wasn't money, it wasn't intelligence. Actually, it was something that almost everyone completely ignores. Part 1. A life of struggle, the disparity of success. We're introduced to this young guy who is in a constant, absolute grinding struggle just to pay his family's basic bills. Literally, every single day, he's looking at his own difficult life and comparing it to all the visible wealth around him. He's watching people driving these expensive cars, living super comfortably, and he's just constantly wondering, what exactly makes them so different? Like, what do they know that I don't? Well, eventually, he ends up attending this public speech given by the richest businessman in town. And as you can imagine, afterward, the crowd just absolutely swarms the billionaire. They are bombarding him with all these super complex questions about stock portfolios, scaling businesses, the whole shebang. But our protagonist, he pushes right through all that noise and asks something incredibly focused. If I could copy just one thing from your life, what would it be?
Part 2. The 5 a.m. Secret. An unconventional answer.
So the billionaire stops, smiles, and he doesn't hand him a check or whisper some secret stock tip. Instead, he simply tells the boy to meet him the very next morning at exactly 5 o'clock a.m. Naturally, the boy is just completely stunned. I mean, think about it. What in the world does waking up in the pitch dark have to do with achieving massive financial success? But, he shows up anyway. And as they're walking through these dark, totally empty streets, the billionaire finally reveals his secret weapon. He explains that while the rest of the world is literally unconscious, he is up and executing 4 specific steps. First, he plans his day. Second, he exercises his body. Third, he reads to feed his mind. And finally, he just spends time thinking, completely free from all those modern distractions we constantly face. The crazy part? By the time everyone else's alarm clocks are even ringing, he has already won the most important battle of the day. Part 3. The test of discipline, the reality of change. Now, as we all know, understanding a concept and actually applying it are 2 very, very different things. When the boy attempts to copy this routine, it is not some magical, instantaneous fix. In fact, that first week is absolutely agonizing. It's pitch black outside, he's exhausted, and get this, his friend actually laughs at him for even trying. But he refuses to quit. And you've got to watch how this compounds. Weeks turn into months, and in those quiet, uninterrupted morning hours, he actually learns new skills to start a small business. Then, those months turn into years. Because he kept that one simple promise to himself every single morning, his confidence absolutely explodes, and ultimately, his income skyrockets. Fast forward years later, and we get this ultimate twist in the story. Our protagonist is no longer that struggling boy anymore. He is now a highly successful man. And one day, a new, struggling young kid approaches him and asks the exact same question. What's your biggest secret? Our guy? He just smiles. And the whole cycle begins all over again as he replies, meet me tomorrow at 5 a.m.
Part 4. The deeper lesson. Beyond the clock.
Let's step out of the parable for just a second here. What should you really take away from this explainer? Because look, biologically speaking, waking up at exactly 5 a.m. is not some mandatory requirement for success. That's honestly kind of a literal myth, this idea that the magic is hiding in that specific hour on the clock. The deeper truth here is that the timestamp doesn't matter nearly as much as the intentionality behind it. The real secret? It's about building consistent habits and aggressively protecting your focused, uninterrupted time before the absolute chaos of the world demands your attention. Real success doesn't just magically happen in a single morning. It comes down to one thing: discipline. It is the sheer willingness to push through the mundane, super unglamorous, and often totally invisible work that most people, frankly, just ignore or give up on the second it gets uncomfortable. At the end of the day, discipline beats talent every single time. It is these small, quiet, daily habits that compound over time into truly extraordinary results. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a real challenge. I want you to take a hard look at your own routine tomorrow morning. Ask yourself, are your daily habits actively building your extraordinary results, or are they the very thing holding you back?